Graham Norton.
Grace Norton.
I think I would talk about myself probably in terms of the things that I love and the things that I enjoy, because that feels like a bigger part of myself as any. I love traveling. I love writing. I love exploring and having adventures. I love being with the people that I love. I am currently working as a freelance writer. I just finished writing a book that I've been basically procrastinating on for about 10 years, which was my project for quite a few years. I have to finish this because otherwise it's never going to get done. So I only finished that a few days ago, or maybe it was a week ago now. The time is blurring together, but that feels like a huge thing to have achieved. So I'm an aspiring author, really, because I'm trying to get published. I really love that question, and I always love hearing other people's answer to that question, because I think it gives you quite a lot of insight into an individual when they tell you what they've learned and what they would tell their younger self, or they would tell other younger women or young girls. And I think that is such a big question as well. And it's like hindsight as well, isn't it? It's like, if you knew then what you know now, what, if anything, would you do differently? Or would you actually decide that you have no regrets and you'll live life the same way as you always have? And I also tend to think that there's like a very prescriptive idea of what life should be, which is, you go to school, you get your education, you meet someone, possibly you marry them, you have a family, and that happens for a lot of people, and a lot of people are very happy like that. But there's also a lot of ways that life doesn't go quite as you expect, and so you can never really plan or prepare for it. You can never really know the lessons before you've gone through things. It's just kind of impossible. So I feel like if I went to my younger self and told her certain things, she'd just be like, okay, but what could she do with it? She has to go through what she's gone through to end up having those lessons mean anything. But I still would tell myself something, and it would probably be, the first thing would be to know that your self-worth is something that you always have to cultivate for yourself, and you cannot outsource it to other people. You can't outsource it to your relationships, you can't outsource it to your job, you can't outsource it to how much you earn, because those things can always change and they're so transient. And the only thing that really reinforces it at the end of the day is yourself. And definitely you can have like a core group of friends or supportive people around you that help as well, but it has to be you. And I think young women so often feel like we have to find something outside of ourselves to make us feel worthy, and I don't really know where that comes from, because like you say, women are so incredible and so sort of naturally incredible, and I don't know if it's just that the standards for us are so high that even when a woman is amazing, she feels she's not good enough, because it's like, oh, you should be able to be everything all at once, and we are still human. As much as we're incredible, we're still people. So I think I would teach myself that earlier on, that self-worth is always an inside job, and it doesn't diminish because someone else can't see your value. It doesn't diminish because someone else treats you badly or talks shit about you or whatever else. It's just something that intrinsically is there. I think I would tell myself sooner to try to trust my gut and my intuition. I've always, and I think everyone does, of course, like whether they believe it's like a guardian angel or God or your gut instinct. It's something inside of you that tells you when things are wrong or right, but we don't always have the confidence to trust them or to act on them, or almost feel like you need permission or evidence to say, oh, this is why I feel this way. And we really don't. We just have to trust ourselves. And I think if young women have that combination of self-esteem and trust, then that kind of goes into every element of their life, from how rewarding their relationships are, to how much they earn at work, to the kind of careers they go after, to how they take care of themselves, to everything. So it's something that you can't really learn soon enough. And probably the other thing I would say to myself and to other women is, I remember like when I was probably about 5, call our names, and I wouldn't answer because I was so nervous and so shy that I would just sit there quietly and say nothing. And obviously you and I were both doing this Goddess Collective online group, and we learnt a lot about how you have to own and use your voice in the world. And that was my first memory of not being able to use my voice in the most simple way, which was just to say who I was. Like, are you here? Can you acknowledge that you're here? And I couldn't do that because I felt so scared. And I think one of my favourite books that I would recommend anyone to read is Susan Jeffers' Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, because it's a reminder that fear is always there for everyone. It never goes away, but it's an illusion. And the more you move towards something that you want, fear is kind of like a fog around something, and as you move towards it, it kind of dissipates. And so I would probably have told that little girl, I know you're scared, and there's going to be lots of times in life where you feel scared. Like they're not going to go away just because you get older or more mature or more experienced or have more money or any of those things. You're still going to feel it, but don't let it stop you from living your life. Don't let it stop you asking for help. Don't let it stop you reaching out to people when you need them. Just do everything in spite of that. You just, that would always be my advice to women. Just try and be as fearless as you can in your life. It's funny because as well, I remember when I was a kid, when I was at home or when I was with my family or my friends, I was so like chatty and loud and I think quite brave. Like the things I did as a kid that I would just run around and do and wouldn't even think twice. It was just everything was fun. And I had like so much belief in myself, and I think it happens somewhere in puberty. It's probably like a mixture of hormones. I think the big thing for women is the moment that you get your period and you start struggling with like the hormonal and mood fluctuations that brings, and it's the same time that you're growing up and you're getting all these influences from magazines and the television and the opposite sex and blah 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 blah, and it kind of hits you, all that conditioning hits you at your most vulnerable biological time in a lot of ways, and so you almost become a chameleon and try to reflect back what you're expected to be, or I think I did in some ways. I used to like go clubbing a lot when I hated clubbing. I had no interest in it. I really didn't. Now I would go like if I was with the right group of people and the mood felt right or something, but I never enjoyed it. But I used to go because I thought, well, this is something that I'm supposed to want to do. And that's not even like one of the worst things that women can feel pushed to do. But it still shows that we get hit with a lot of pressure, and I think the older you get, you do start to sort of see through all that and think, who gave us this pressure? I don't want that. Like, this system where it's more common for women to be in competition with each other than it is for women to collaborate. And if you see another woman, it's like, oh no, she can't do well. I'm the only woman who's allowed to sit at the table, and there's no space for two of us or three of us or four of us. And I don't think that's ever how women have operated, really. I think like some of my closest connections are with women, and the people who make me feel best about myself and most encouraged in my life are women. So it's really ludicrous that we ever lost that, and it's a nice thing to kind of come back to, is just supporting each other and not being in this weird competition. Honestly, I love everything about myself, and that doesn't, by saying that, I don't mean that I don't say that in terms of like I'm perfect or I have no flaws or I've made no mistakes or I haven't failed at anything, but I really do love the person that I am. And I think what I suppose the big thing that kind of hit that home for me was I had a really difficult year last year, and probably the most challenging part of that year was losing my mum in the earlier part of the year, and seeing her resilience and her strength and her courage in how she dealt with her illness. And it made me realise that that is really, sure, you want to be attractive, sure, you want to look good and have achievements and make something of yourself in the world and all those things. I think that's normal, but what actually matters about you is how resilient are you, like how can you get through the good and the bad things that life throws at you. And then I think once you go through something like that, you do kind of ease up on yourself a lot, because you go through some of, every human at some time goes through whatever for them is the most difficult thing they could cope with, and it can be so many things. And once you go through that, it's just hard to be tough on yourself again. You think, I've been through enough tough things without being my own worst enemy. You just your only experience of life is as yourself and in your own body, with your brain, with who you are. So I think you kind of just have to love that person. You just do. And yeah, I think I would probably love most about myself recently is I feel that I've been quite courageous and quite brave, and now I just feel in a position of like excitement of what's going to come next. We have this idea of strength as being, if you think of the word strong, you probably picture someone who looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You think of like big muscles and really physically strong and stoic, and just like you said, someone who doesn't show their emotion, as if not having emotion makes you strong. But it's kind of like you can't really be brave if you're not afraid. If you do something and you had no fear, it's not brave, it's just something you did. If you're scared and you did it, then that's a big thing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Same with strength, like, and I think women's way of being strong is often really overlooked because we're not necessarily like Arnold. We can't be like Arnold, but we have so many other ways of being strong. And I think that the women around me and the strength they show in life is like above and beyond any like action figure ever. When we talked about what I wanted the painting to be like, I had like really only one visual, which maybe just points to my lack of imagination. But I had one really strong image, which was me lying down, and there'd be some nudity, and I would be lying back on flames, like on kind of like a bed of fire, and it would be that time of day where it's sort of day is waning down and it's starting to get dark, like those really dark blue skies that you get, but you can still see the moon, but it's sort of still day. And I really wanted there to be either a panther or a tiger with its paw on my stomach. And I think for me, fire and like big cats are very strong visual representations of power and courage and guts. And also I think that felines have quite a feminine energy to them as well, and they're associated with strength and power and quite like a bold way of going after things. So I feel very connected to those two two things. And I guess what I would want people to see when they looked at it, or what I think they would see, would be the idea of women always in transition. So my pose in the painting would be quite a vulnerable one, in the sense that there would be some nudity. It would be like a lying down pose, but then you have this fire, you have the big cat that's like made a connection with me, and you have the fact that it's a transitional going from day to night. And I think I'd want people to see like all the different nuances of what the feminine is, that it's not like being feminine isn't day or night or this or that. It's like a mixture of all kinds of things. That women are quite dynamic, and they're always changing and transitioning. Our bodies are always changing and transitioning. Our time of the month is coming and going and waxing and waning, and whether you choose to become a mother or whatever way you put in your creative energies, women are dynamic creatures. So I'd want it to show like the potential of what women can be and achieve. I would say I think I see it as being mostly quite bold, but there'd also be some softness to it. So I suppose it would be a contrast of like some parts being soft and some parts being bold, as another way of representing both sides. Like women are soft and gentle and nurturing and nourishing, but we're also very strong and very, very powerful, and those things are kind of like married within us. So I think like if it was a panther, which I keep feeling drawn towards more than a tiger, I think the big cat would be a bit more subdued to me in terms of like the color scheme. The background color, like the blue, would be quite a deep blue, so I think that would be a strong color. And the fire would obviously be strong, but not in terms of overpowering. Maybe that's a hard thing to do, but not in terms of overpowering like the image of the woman in the painting, but still a very strong, like dazzling kind of colour.
Mm.
What you've done is very, very, very similar to what I envisioned. Even in terms of like the composition of where I would be on the page and how the fire is very, very similar.
Yeah.
That was really like the only image that came to me. So I felt like if something else had come to me and they were competing in my mind, then maybe I would be like, oh, do I want this one or that one? But that was really the only image I've had, and it sort of came to me very clear and very formed. So I was like, I think that's the one I'm going to go with. That's obviously coming from something. I'd like the body to be fairly realistic, and I would like the other elements of the painting can be more surreal. Especially things like the fire, I guess, so you can have a bit of fun making it like
a bit cool,
making it pop and like dazzle and stuff. But I'm turning 31 in May, and I really wanted to have a photo shoot when I was 30, like a professional photo shoot, just to have, I don't know, just some images for myself to mark like this time in my life. And I can't do that because of quarantine. So this is like, I'm going to be giving myself a photo shoot. Exactly. I'm going to be my photographer and my subject, and then you're going to create this like amazing work of art for me to celebrate this time. That's cool. I love it. Yeah, I'm excited. I want it now.
Give me time. Was there anything else that you wanted to like add in, or that you feel like it's important?
No, I think that's kind of captured all the elements that I wanted to have. And I'm just looking forward to it now.
Yay.
Take my clothes off and get naked.
And with that, ladies and gents.
Everyone just happy on that wall. Including me. You look a very pretty Louis Theroux. You're giving Louis Theroux wishes he could